Welcome back to the Sage, and thank you for being with us. Our discussion in this next few episodes is extremely important. We discussed today the population demographics that I think is the most important of all. Our young people. They are our hope, they are our dreams, they are our ambitions, they are our today and our tomorrow.
This election showed that a revolution is going on in this country.
Exactly. I love that revolution.
It shows a revolution is going on in this country, and Nigerian youths have seen enough shege, and they're trying to change it with the revolution without blood. Mm-hmm. And so we've seen the young Nigerian people at their most organized level. Mm-hmm. You see, it has come to a stage where we've decided that, look, we have to take our destiny in our hands.
Perhaps I haven't been more proud to be a young person in Nigeria. And this was a landmark event. This was, an epic display of young people and their passion and youth, display of youth, basically. And it was phenomenal to see the fearless demonstration, the passion, the unity in purpose, and with which young people came out en masse in this past election. Whether it be their interest at the polls and the debates, online and offline, they're coming out to register, which of course the numbers are the highest so far, going back to 2011, 2015, 2019 and now. They're coming out that very day of election. Their interest in joining political parties, the courage, the resilience displayed at their polling units. I mean, it was inspirational to see. It was
I agree
amazing.
with you entirely.
Yeah.
And it was, I think we're all sharing the same experience. I also voted. I also went out, stayed for hours because in many places there were poor logistics. But the enthusiasm,
Yes.
the bonhomie, as I had said in a previous episode, was almost palpable.
Yeah.
We were all excited. We all wanted a common outcome.
Yeah.
We all wanted the good of our
There was
country.
hope.
There was
It was
hope.
so tangible. You could feel it. People really believed.
Yeah, and we believe that we can contribute towards a great Nigeria.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it is a moment to reflect upon. And I think for many of us, we need to hold that as the major memory of the election. And not whatever disappointment we think we may feel. It is really the fact that we had, despite everything in the past, in our history, been able this time round to demonstrate our patriotism, our willingness, our hope, our desperation to believe in a great country. So yes, so that was the election experience. And now we go on. So yes, we have voted. It was a moment in history to be proud of, but the work is only just beginning. What is critical, what is pertinent is the fact that this journey is going to continue. That for all of us, we must never give up the work, the joint work to make our country a great one. To make sure that the resources of this our wonderful, blessed country reaches the majority of us. To take our rightful place in history. And so I'm going to turn back to my guests and say, the work has just begun. Mm-hmm. We have said that we will explore other areas on the Sage, but those areas sort of all come together when we talk about young people, as a whole. And so to ask you what you think young people should do and be doing now to continue the march towards a great country?
For one, youth activism. I think this election, and even before now, the NSAS movement or protest, I think Nigerian youth have woken up to the influence and power they have. When we say democracy is government for the people, by the people, we just now woke up, I think, young people.
We've seen the
yes,
by the people.
By the people. It is our government. It is for us. It is by us. And so I think if there's anything that we've learned is we need to be active. We need to actively participate now in activism, in creating more youth groups, in joining more political parties, in sensitization, community sensitization. A lot of people, even with the number of people who came out, there's so many people who still didn't participate, who we need for the next time. And basically because they don't know their rights and their duties as Nigerians and what franchise means. So there's that need to go down to the grassroots, to the local communities, and sensitize them and educate them on what it means and how it is their right and the power to vote and what that means for Nigeria, as a whole. Also to establish civic organizations that hold government accountable. I'll give Budget as an example, or Track as an example. And these are organizations set up by young people to track what government is doing when it comes to project implementation, for example, or when it comes to the budget and how it's being spent and allocated, to the different tiers of government. And we need more like that. We need more organizations like that hold government accountable on there's so many different sectors. There's health, there's education, there's enterprise and economy. There's so many, sectors that we need to push for or advocate for better governance, better administration of resources. And the youth we need to know that there's a pivotal role that we play. And need to become key players, in leadership, in governance, and in politics.
I love those. I love those points. Not that all the points you've both been making are great, but I want to stress the fact that, indeed, for the sake of everybody, including the people governing, leading, actually, there is an urgent need for accountability. For you to perform well, somebody needs to be assessing your performance. And so I love that. I know the young people have it in them. They have the creativity, they have the innovativeness that is required to set up this accountability units or organizations and so on. So that indeed we all understand what is happening in our country and can call our leaders and implementers and managers to explain, but also help them, because it is when they understand what they're doing that they're going to be able to improve or correct mistakes. So I think that is important, and that's, like you rightly said, is a critical role for young people, as well as the one of continuing the mobilization, knowing that there's still a great deal of people out there to be mobilized.
And very linked to accountability is the issue of fighting corruption. And oftentimes when we discuss corruption as young people, we think of government on that level, forgetting that there's what we call cutting corners. There's the Nigerian factor. There's corruption when bringing it home to everyday life, in our business, in our offices, the different aspects or expressions of corruption, of bribery. And so to educate people on that you cannot say you want to hold your government accountable if you can't be accountable at your place of work or within your sphere of influence. If you can't point out corrupt practices and discourage it, then how do you hold the government accountable? And similar to that, obeying the law and doing the right thing at the right time.
So we have situations where corruption is celebrated.
Yes.
You see, somebody comes to your neighborhood or comes to your village with plenty of money. Somebody you used to know has done no business, has done no work, maybe just got into politics or just got a job. And within a twinkle of an eye, is coming back home in convoys of vehicles. Is raising structures everywhere. And as young people, you go and clap for such persons without asking questions.
Or aspire to be like them.
Aspire to be like them.
Make them chief.
And so, and for that reason, I think from there we started having the Yahoo Boys issues that we now have, people trying to cut corners everywhere. If we want to build a new Nigeria, if we want to in Nigeria we can be proud of, just like she said, we have to discourage corruption and celebrate virtue, reward values. Because there's somebody who has gone through school, who has studied very well, has come out with good grades, because he wants to contribute, and he is he's relegated to the background. It is those who have done nothing, who has contributed nothing, and made
money in unaccountable
manner. So we have, as a people, as young people, to discourage. And I like when you say young people are very creative, and it's beautiful to know that they are very creative people. You see, between the presidential election and the governorship election, there was a huge lacuna that was noticed, which was the fact that INEC couldn't live to his promise by where it has promised that electoral results will be transmitted real time. Live. And they came with a lot of reasons. Oh, we had technical issues. Within a space of 2 weeks, young Nigerians had developed applications that could transmit election results real time from the polling units. Again, that is going to hold INEC accountable for subsequent elections. There's an app called Collate. There's Africa Collate. There is Office of the Citizen. Then there's iElect, developed by some young boys in Abuja here. And this app, particular one, iElect, runs on WhatsApp. It allows you to monitor elections.
So that in your unit, you can actually
so from your polling unit, you can transmit election results real time. Yeah. You can transmit situation reports. Yeah. If there are people trying to snatch, or you can just do your short video, and transmit into a central portal, and every Nigerian have access to see these things real time. So INEC no longer has the monopoly of having that IREV. It may not be IREV, but we have something similar that can check or that can do what IREV is doing. That keeps INEC officials on their toes. And going forward, Nigerians, young Nigerians, we have to develop a lot of this across all sectors. One sector we have to look at very well is the power sector. Because if that power sector is not functioning very well, education and health, if these three sectors are not functioning very well, it doesn't matter what we have achieved in the last election. It doesn't matter what we've done or what we are trying to do. We have to make sure these three sectors start working optimally. And we have to develop, be it programs, be it strategies, be it softwares like we have seen in this election, to track programs of government, to track resources and implementation of policies of government. Talking about implementation of policies of government, there is one aspect of our governance that the Nigerian people, particularly the youth, have not been very interested: the parliament. You see, for every decision your president will make, it has to be approved by the parliament. Now he wants money for budgets, the parliament will approve the budget. Nigeria's debt profile today is about 46 trillion naira. That amount was approved by the parliament. So we don't just sit down here and throw stones at the president. Oh, you have too much debt. Look at how are we going to pay this money? But forgetting that somebody approved that, and that was the parliament. So those people you voted for from your locality, your constituency, representing you in the Senate, representing you in the House of Reps, they approved that money. So it is important for us to start looking at what they do in the parliament. We had some problems in these last elections where partisan people were appointed as electoral residential officers, like we had in Adamawa State. Now, how are they appointed? The president only selects these people and sends them to the parliament to approve. It is the parliament, it is for the parliament, the Senate in particular, to run a check on these people before approving their appointment. But if the Senate has not done that due diligence, that allows partisan people into an independent body. Then all this effort we have will now be going down the drain.
So hold your thought, but let me just stress what you just said, because while a government is often to a large extent controlled by a particular party, right? The point you're actually making is that the parliament, the legislature, allows us the opportunity to ensure that there are no hidden interests.
Absolutely.
As you screen whatever they present to you for approval.
It is indeed supposed to be the arm that checks and balances.
But yes, what the executive is doing.
Exactly.
Now, another aspect we must look into very well are the laws the parliaments are making for us. And now if you look at the Electoral Act, which we have celebrated so well, we have a problem with the clause that allows INEC to transmit electoral results electronically. If you look at that clause very well, it doesn't categorically state. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, though perhaps the legal people can help us interpret. But my layman's understanding tells me that it doesn't categorically say, INEC, you shall transmit electoral results electronically. I think that was left, by the way it was couched, it was left for the INEC to use their discretion. But the courts will decide that, the legal people will decide that. I don't understand. But what I'm saying is, young people need to be involved in electoral, in law processing, in the law making process. From the first reading, the bill is introduced. The second reading, it is debated among lawmakers. Then it comes to public hearing, where we are allowed to go to the National Assembly to give our own thought on those bills.
Do they actually listen?
Now, it is very important, because we had one bill at the time that was trying to regulate NGOs. And I remember Bishop Kuka came down from Sokoto because of that bill. And by the time the stakeholders came, that bill has gone to sleep. Nobody's talking about it anymore. They just took it quietly out. So if we show interest as Nigerian young people, you are bringing a bill, please let us get this bill. You have representatives in the National Assembly. You call your representatives, get him to give you this bill. Anyway, these bills are public documents, so you can also find them online. Go through it. We have to be interested in what these people are doing. So when we look at the bills, if there are any clause we are not interested in, please write it down and wait for the day of public hearing. And make your way right there. And sometimes you can even approach them online. So it depends on the movement. Maybe my voice may not be loud enough. But if we come together as youth group and go to the National Assembly and say, look, this law, we don't want it. 25% of Nigerians are below, 60% of Nigerians are below 25 years. And like you said in the opening, over 80% of Nigerians are below the age of 45. I don't understand. I can't see any force that can stop a moving train of 45 of 80% of Nigerians, or 80% of over 200 million people asking you to stop. You can't. In the first place, you can't win an election without the youth in this country. If 85% of the population, 80% of the population are young people, you can't win an election without a young person. And so if they're telling you this bill won't see the light of the day, we don't want this clause, this guy to go, and you are not doing it, you know that your political career is over. And no politician, and every politician is interested in election in his next term. So they must listen to us, and it's time for us to begin to use this mechanism, these structures that are available in a democratic system to carry out our revolution without blood.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so stimulating. I mean, the points both of you have raised, the need for more mobilization, the more awareness creation from now on and towards the next time, the need for us being fighters of corruption. I like that a lot, because many times your parents worry about, what is the example being shown to young people? Young people will want to emulate. Well, some of that happens, but it's interesting to see young people from a different lens, the lens of being the people holding others accountable, actually fighting corruption yourself, so that people don't see it as it must be, but you see yourself as people who hold the ethics of this country, and then, like you said, monitoring what is happening, holding leaders and managers and implementers accountable, and also having an eye on our legislature, so that we recognize the potential to influence them, so that things are going in the right way, and we, through them, also hold our elected public officers, public civil servants, public officers accountable. So that is great. Any more?
Yes, I would also like to add, similar to fighting corruption and holding government accountable, and is advocating for peaceful coexistence. Young people have a role to play in that aspect, in that regard, because to a certain extent, we saw some display of tribalism towards the end of towards the election day. You could see especially like online. Like I said, I was an avid online observer, and so many people started to post things, against this particular tribe and the other tribe, and saying certain things are common with people from this tribe, from the north, from the east, from the south. And so it was, I think many young people were surprised that, wow, so you mean people still think like this, and they are young people like me. So young people like us who do not believe in tribalism, I think we have a duty to advocate for peaceful coexistence, to sort of sensitize people within our spheres of influence, wherever we find ourselves and we see tribalism and such speech and comments being made, to point out and say, okay, but we're the same. We're basically Nigerians. And if you go back to your roots and your history, I'm sure you'll find that you have an Igbo grandmother, I have a northern auntie, or I have a southern relative or husband, or we're just the same. And we all really just want the same thing. Good governance. We're not asking for too much. But if we cannot be united, then how do we hold government accountable?
One thing I always tell people who talk about regionalism, ethnicism and all that bigotry, it's one thing. The hunger that is hitting an Igbo man is the same hunger that is eating up the Hausa brother and a Yoruba brother. The illiteracy that is eating up somebody in the north is the same thing eating us down south or down the east. So these factors affecting us are common to us. And so if the insecurity down eastern Nigeria today, what's happening? Lives have been lost. If we go up west, northwest, lives have been lost. Thing. So it's not, if there is a bomb blast today, the bomb blast will not say, okay, come Igbo people, come this side, or Hausa people, come this side, before it will explode. It will consume all of us. You see, if there is fuel scarcity, we all go and queue for fuel. No petrol station will say, this petrol station is for Igbo people. This petrol station is for Yoruba people. There is no petrol station. All of us will queue under the sun and become, and unfortunately, under those circumstances, we forget our tribal differences and become very
but when together. It comes to leadership,
but when it comes to leadership and politics, that coin is thrown, that seed of discourse is thrown into us, and we are there just fighting each other. So my simple opinion, my simple advice is, religious difference, ethnic difference won't change anything. I think that won't help us. Rather, we'll put those behind us and advocate for good governance. If you are satisfied as an Igbo man, and satisfied as a Hausa man, and satisfied as a Yoruba man, life will be better for all of us. But if we are not satisfied, if we can't get good schools, we can't get to good hospitals, because if you get to the hospitals and there are no medications, just like a Hausa man will die, so an Igbo man will die, so a Yoruba man will die.
Same ground.
And all of us get buried. And I never hear amongst the dead if they have tribalism. Why are they burying you on the ground? They should bury you perhaps on the tree. So at the end of the day, tribalism, ethnic beliefs, and all the religious beliefs and all that won't change what's happening to us. And that is not our problem. If we put that beside us, then we can see what the problem is. And then we can address it. And that is the only way we can get the new Nigeria we desire. It should be a nation. Yes, different tribes and tongues, that should be our asset. But we have a nation where, and I don't know where this is coming from. We are people, prehistoric Africa, it doesn't matter your tribe. If you are eating here and a stranger is passing on the road, you will insist that person comes and eats.
With you.
Or you provide water for the person. In fact, there's a biblical story that, and that is humanity. I remember the story of Abraham, how he brought in angels into his house without even knowing. He just saw strangers passing. And this is what Africa is known for. You can be selling your things. Prehistoric Africa, you can be selling your granite. You want to go to the farm, you leave it in front of your house.
Or your yams.
People are honest. We had values. We believed in our culture and tradition. Only God knows where this is coming from. And I want to be very sure it's as a result of politics. Please, when we can get that off our minds, off our tables, we'll see who the monster really is, and we can take them out and have a good country.
Those are profound words from both of you. So true. But I want to also highlight something you brought in towards the end, and that is the fact that not only is it obvious, like you have said, that when we have problems, when we have issues, Those issues don't hit us more or less because of where we come from, or what language we speak, or what color our skin is, or whatever. So that is, we're all affected commonly. So that is something that is fundamental, and we therefore need to know that it's stupid to be discriminating. But something I always also believe and have seen a great deal of in my years of life is the fact that there's an additional dimension which our young people need to remember and understand. Our differences are actually opportunities.
Yes.
They are our strength.
Yeah.
Our diversity is a strength.
Yeah.
So it's not that forget and pretend it doesn't exist,
Absolutely.
but to recognize with respect those differences and to work, it's like when you have an opposition party. Opposition parties are important because they keep you
On your toes.
on your
Yeah.
toes so that you are listening to opinions that are not just your own,
Yeah.
but counter opinions, because many times they also have some merit.
Yeah.
In that same way, Nigeria is blessed by our diversity. And until we begin to appreciate it for the blessing it is, for the treasure it is, we're missing something. Because when we learn to value that diversity, we are proud of it. We rejoice in it. We listen to each other. We learn from each other. Let me be concrete, For instance, I grew up in the West, in Lagos. One of the things I find most admirable about the Yorubas is their the respect embedded in their culture.
Yes.
Respect for the elder. It's so, we all have it to different extents, but in some it's more marked than the other.
Yeah.
And that is something to learn from. And so Nigerians, young people, I say to all of you, move, apart from the fact that, as you wisely said, people often use these differences to try and separate you and therefore reduce your power. But actually see also, yes, accept our differences, but recognize it as a strength, something we can all build on to make a greater nation.